Now, do you want 20 more in there, or is that good?
How about we put how many it needs, not what I've been doing. All right, guys, 2 days ago, I was out here working on building my wood shed, and I had a plan for how to build this. I got to this point right here and realized that this type of cross bracing I wanted to do to support my headers might not be strong enough to do the job it's supposed to do. With a lot of these projects that I demonstrate, I'm doing something that I've never done before, and the woodshed is a perfect example of that. I've never tried to build anything like this myself. And what we're watching right now is my good friend Lucas Peak from the Peaks Peak Hobby Homestead channel building his dream shop with his son. In the last year, I've watched Lucas build this shop with the vehicle lift and build a cabin in the woods next to his pond and build a woodshed primarily out of lumber that he milled himself. I'm pretty impressed with Lucas's skills at building and just his get-her-done attitude. And he's someone that I talk to pretty much every day and ask questions about the best way to get things done. So when I found out he was going to be in my area, I asked him if he could swing by and take a look at what I'm doing on my building and see if he had any advice for me. So we're going to get some shots of the way I framed this, maybe get your opinion on how I could have done it better, and then we're going to introduce you to a concept that I was not familiar with. And maybe you guys have heard of it, maybe you haven't, but there's a building technique called bookshelf framing.
Yeah, so I've built several pole barns and sheds. I built my cabin, and I never used this style of framing until I was watching Brad at Piney Grove, and his builders recommended a style of wall framing they called bookshelf framing. And it actually solves a common problem with the way most pole barns are built. And I think it's going to help you out in this.
All right, well, let me show you what I've done up close. All right, so as a master builder, what's your professional opinion on what I've got going here and how I could have done it better?
So I'm not saying that this wouldn't work, because it's going to support it, and especially if you're going to put siding over the outside of this, when you put your siding on here, it's going to tie everything together to where it's solid, it's sturdy, it'll be fine. Now, what I would probably have done different with this bracing is your scab board here that's underneath your header, I would have cut it off above this so that you could extend this brace out across the post and attach it with lag bolts right here. That way your bracing is attached to the actual post instead of a board that's nailed in.
Because my general thought is that toenailing is kind of it's like the weakest possible way to fasten something. And I think, well, I've just toenailed this in here, and this is a 3.5-inch framing nail, but it feels like that's just not going to give any strength. Well, and I toenailed the same thing right there.
But you have to think about what your nail is doing with this situation. With your brace, the way your pressure is pushing down on this, it's going to push the bottom of this angle in towards this board.
Now, the other theory I had of how to make this stronger is to countersink a hole in here at a straight line from further down the board so it's grabbing all this meat, and then put a big lag screw in there so it can bite harder.
So I'll tell you why that would work, and it would tie it together tightly, but I'll tell you why I don't think it matters is when you put siding on this and you've got nails in all of your siding tying every board together, you're kind of getting the same thing out of that. It'll all be tied together with your siding, and that's going to give you rigidity to the whole building.
Yeah, and we're using full 1-inch probably hardwoods as a siding for this.
Yeah, you should be golden.
And the other thing is, my theme with building this is I want to do it as cheap as possible. And I've already bought nails, and I'm trying not to spend $500 on the entire construction.
Right.
And those lag screws 8-inch lag screws aren't cheap.
They are not cheap. That's pretty good. You ready?
Yep.
All right.
I was born ready.
Got me beat. Right there.
That ain't going nowhere.
It's a little crooked down here.
About as level as a snake.
You're gonna have to get some good help in here.
Well, let's not tell anybody. It'll be between me, you, and the tree. That's Hey, do you want me to go ahead and nail this?
I think you were like playing, had a good beat going there.
We're out of nails.
Probably stop there.
Green Acres is the place to be.
We were watching your video the other day when you were singing that, and you started singing, and my future son-in-law was sitting in there, and he said, maybe tell him don't sing on video anymore.
It's terrible.
Yeah. Just
what about 30 or 40?
in there?
What do you do, 30 or 40? That's what?
3 to 5 on a spot like that's what I would put.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. You think 18 was too many in that?
There's more metal in this structure than there is wood at this point, man.
Right? Nothing to save his money like buying these high-end welded air nails and then just blasting them in.
I'm not even sure this gun's legal, man. It's like automatic.
So what we've done here is the only thing I would have done, and it's all I'd ever heard to do. But the bookshelf framing method is about stability and strength.
Yeah, so the reason I love this so much is because actually me and my son built our shop together, and we did it just like this, no support on the inside. And I noticed when I was hanging my foam board insulation, I would drive nails into it, and the entire wall, metal included, would shake back and forth. I go to try to hang a shelf or anything like that, the whole wall's flexing back and forth in the middle, because you can imagine, you know, wobbly 2x4, it's just going to flop back and forth on a 10-foot span. So the bookshelf framing is going to fix that problem.
And I almost think using your own rough cut oak fixes that problem, because this isn't an inch and a half. When I wanted to show, it was wiggling the post and not the board.
It is an entirely different ballgame building with true dimensional lumber that you milled.
So I've seen, after watching it on your video, I've watched 3 other videos and seen different reasons you might do this bookshelf framing. Number 1, you literally now have shelves around. If you want to set up your fasteners inside your shop in little cans on this, you've got a shelf. Second reason is, like we talked about, stability. And the third reason is it frames it up for insulation. If you want to set it up that way, and this is going to be an insulated pole barn, you can put these the distance apart you want them for your insulation.
Exactly. Lots of benefits to this. In my sawmill shed, we already have the ledges almost full of, you know, cans of screws and just different, you know, tools, tape measure level, all the things that we use. And so you have your shelves when you're finished.
Yeah, and so the downside is its cost. The biggest cost of building this is building materials, but I think of lumber as free. I've had a sawmill long enough, and you've got a sawmill, and I know that my time's worth something. I depreciate it. I have to sharpen the blades. All of those things are true, but it feels like lumber's free.
Absolutely. I mean, I call my channel a hobby homestead channel because I literally am about the hobbies. And my hobby right now is milling lumber. I love it. So to me, to get the opportunity to mill a few more boards is exciting. It's not work.
All right. So the way we're going to do this, I've seen it done a few different ways, is we've got our first board up this way, second board comes in like this, and then we're nailing through the...
So what we'll use with these 2x4s, I believe, because they're about the same width as your center posts there, we'll put it right down in behind this, and we'll nail straight through this into it.
Okay. All right, I'll let you hold it and I'll run the nail.
Now, I will tell you the other, let me make sure I get my face right in front of it. The other option might be, is you could overlap it on the top, and it would give you some structure for up and down, but we're kind of doing the whole side to side thing for lateral structure. And the dimensions of these, I think it works better to put them behind it. So you can choose. I don't know that one way is better than the other, but
yeah, with the 6x6 post and that being 4 inches, we've got the option to put it inside.
Yeah. Now let's see how well we measured. He said measure twice and cut once. I said, oh, I don't do that.
Yeah. If it fits, then we did it. If it doesn't, then he did it.
Probably one every foot would be enough.
There are differing opinions on how many nails you need for something.
You guys chime in the comments. Tell him how often you put a nail in something like this.
I've never had something fall down because it had too many nails in it. The only thing better than excess is more excess.
I don't think I can afford Brock's building methods.
This is supposed to be my cheap build. 1 foot.
So go ahead and toenail the ends of this, and that way your ledge will be sturdy. So the angled pieces are more for, they're not really to hold your headers up. They're more for
Stabilizing
sway,
the post.
stabilization. So these will work in the center if you want to just put these on the ends.
So the reason I decided to do those is the comments saying that this board wasn't strong enough to hold the roof up. And so, too long of a span, and that span's longer than this one.
So, okay, well, that will help.
And say now, this board's only holding a span this wide.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. But the other thing is, I would put another board just like that on the inside of here.
Which I talked about in my video. I said, guys, I was kind of lazy not notching this out, but I'm not just leaving that. I'm putting a block under, I'm putting an angle board, and I'm putting an interior header.
Yeah. Now, do you want 20 more in there, or is that good?
How about we put how many it needs, not what I've been doing.
All right. Okay, so you've got your pivot point right here. So when you want to measure an angle, you can turn it, and you've got your degrees on the outside here. So, 30 or a 45 is going to be right in the center. So this line right here would be a 45-degree angle. Now, when you're cutting rafters, you use the same pivot point. And so if you want your fascia to be flat, you've got a 212 pitch here, right?
Yes.
So you're going to slide this to the inside line here, the number 2. And then when you measure, hold on. Once you've got it on the 2, you mark your line right here for that angle. Then when this is on a 212 pitch, that angle for your fascia will be flat.
I watched you cutting that, and I thought, first, I wonder where you came up with the number. So that's how you did that. Number 2, I thought, why not just leave them square? But the answer is, if you want to put a board across the end of them.
Right.
If you decide later you want to close it off.
Yeah, or you're going to hang gutters.
You want to seal it. You want to put gutters up.
Right.
All right. So I did not know that the second set of measurements in here shows you a roof pitch.
Yeah. Right on.
2 nails.
So
see, you put more, you're just splitting the end of that.
Right.
Because I want to put 4 more in there.
Yeah, but
you're Swiss cheesing.
Just remember, you're not done with your building. You're going to have siding on here, and it's going to have nails in there. It's going to have nails in the header. So it'll all be tied together. It ain't going nowhere.
Yep.
When I leave, he's putting more nails in.
It's a possibility. 105 1/4.
All right.
Well, we did measure the inside last time. This one will have to be hammered in.
Wait, this is the outside one we just measured, right?
Nope. You measured for the outside, I measured for the inside.
Yes. We didn't communicate.
Yeah.
All right, so
I was looking right at you.
It's the heat, man.
That is 109.
Are you going to the outside now?
Yes.
Which one do you want to cut, Brock? It's too hot. Let's get this thing done.
I don't want you to have to move. 102 3/4.
All right.
Which is a 1/4 inch more than you measured on your short one.
I wondered why we were so much different.
We're going with the top of that?
Yes. Just line up the end with the outside of the post there. It should be about right.
And this
All right. Say when.
Go.
And that's where I'd stop. Usually 3 on a 2x4 like that.
3 nails.
Yeah.
Well, I guess if you're framing a house, you just put 2 in the end, like framing a wall.
Yeah.
You're just putting 2 nails in there.
Come on now.
We could
Yeah. These things are handy.
get a little squeeze.
All right. Point it straight at Brock and pull the trigger.
Mm-hmm. I've got plenty of kids. Go ahead and aim that this way.
No more, huh? All right, look out.
Video would get more views if you nailed me to the board. Lucas had a really long drive, so he helped me with 1 bay, and we did 2 other projects we had planned. And I did finish this row out with the bookshelf framing, but I need 2 more boards to finish down on the end, and I am out of milled lumber that is long enough. So I'm gonna have to run the mill before I can finish this.
I think we made a fine mess out of this.
Yeah, it doesn't take much in this heat to wear you out.
It does not.
But I'll tell you, I'm pretty convinced. I didn't know what this was, bookshelf framing. I'm convinced that if I was building a building that I was finishing and I was building it out of store-bought lumber, 100% I would build it like this.
Yep. This is how I'll build them from now on.
Now, for just a rough shed with this rough cut hardwood, it might be overkill. But if you got the extra lumber, why not?
Exactly. And I really think when you get this all finished out, man, you're going to have a really nice shed here for storing your lumber and your firewood. This is sweet.
Yeah, so the truth is, I'd been talking about building this forever and kept putting it off and putting it off. Lucas built his start to finish in a weekend, and I said, man, I got to get on the ball.
Well, you're not supposed to tell them I got it done in a weekend because they don't know it's done yet.
Oh, Lucas, his new building should be done any day now.
Yeah, I stay a few weeks behind on my videos. Yeah.
So that reminds me, if you guys haven't watched Peaks Peak Hobby Homestead, go over to his channel, check it out. A lot of the same stuff I do. He does the same stuff, he just does it better.
I wouldn't say that. And I may do it with less equipment though.
So I appreciate you taking time to watch the video. I'll put links on the screen to a couple more of our videos, and I'll see you next time.
Take care.